अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So thank you once again for joining us for today's discussion. Let's begin with it. We are on the 12th episode of our Gita Essence series. We'll be beginning with the 12th episode. Before that, let's do a very quick and a short recap of the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, titled as the Universal Form, or as we say in Hindi, Virat Roop. So this chapter, although pretty long, had a very clear and a specific objective. This chapter clears some very, very major misconceptions and misunderstandings that people carry. And this chapter, the wisdom given in this chapter, sets a standard for all the time to come for anyone ever to dare, any unauthorized person, for him to ever to dare to call oneself as God or incarnation of God. So why don't I ask all of you today to do a quick recap? Would anyone here would like to share what did we discuss, or what is the lesson that you learned from this chapter that we discussed day before yesterday? Yesterday was off. Any one of you? I hope I'm not putting you under stress right at the beginning of the session by asking a question. I was giving you stress later on when I would ask questions. So let's start with beginning. Anyone would like to give an answer? I believe all of you can unmute in case if anyone wishes to speak. Yeah. So now you have the unmute option for yourself. If you wish to speak, you can unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay, let's go one by one. I hear Mother Subhashri. Please go ahead. Share one point so other devotee can share another point.
Yeah, we discussed about the forms of Lord Krishna.
Okay.
All forms. And the characteristics of devotional service.
Fine, thank you, thank you. Again, I'm looking for the key message, the most important message.
Yeah.
Who is speaking?
The Vishwarupa of Krishna.
All right, Mother Subhashri, your turn is over now. Let's go to another one.
Prabhuji, Raj here.
Raj, yes, Raj. That's the reason it's secret, huh? You're not visible.
Oh, is it? No.
No worries, I'm just joking. Go ahead. Yes, Raj.
Prabhuji, in this chapter, basically.
Raj from Magarpata.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hey, you have attended this 2-3 times. You know all the answers.
Yeah.
This is the third time in the last 1 year I'm doing you there for all the sessions.
Correct, Prabhuji. That's right.
Go ahead.
I'll give another opportunity. I'll give opportunity to others. But the fundamental point here is, until this chapter, Arjuna was treating Krishna as a friend, basically. And when he had these doubts, to see the original form of Krishna, then onwards he turned to be a devotee. He developed that faith, and he started being into devotional service. Basically, this Virat, when Krishna showed him, for the sake of all of us to understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he was bewildered. Arjuna was bewildered, saying that, no, I can't see all these forms, everything, the future past is being visible. So he said, now we want to come back to your original form, that two-handed form.
Fine. See, Arjuna accepting Krishna as a Supreme Personality Godhead post Virat Roop is not actually true because in the 10th chapter he already declared him to be Supreme Personality. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramamava, Purusham Shashvata Divyam, Adi Devam Ajavimu. You are close by, Raj. I'll come back to you. Thank you. Anyone else? I'm looking for a one-line answer. You don't have to give me a paragraph. It's just a one line. What exactly happened in this chapter? And I made it very clear. It destroys all the misunderstandings and it also sets a standard for all the time for anyone to ever say, I am the Supreme Personality. Yes, Krishna Chandra Prabhu.
I think in text 54, Krishna tells Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood.
Krishna is saying this literally from the 3rd chapter. Bhakti and Bhakti. Okay, good attempt. Anyone else? Any of our devotees would like to give a try? Okay, so I would say literally,
Arjuna tells Krishna, show me your universal form.
Okay, what happens then? Krishna showed. What's the lesson?
After Krishna shows his universal form, Arjuna is dazzled by the
Agreed.
sight, and
What's the conclusion? Dr. Leena, right? You're speaking. What's the conclusion?
yeah, he
Okay, so it's like, you saw the whole movie, but you missed out attending the concluding part of the movie. It's something like that's what is happening right now.
Can I try one more time, Prabhu?
Yeah, well, we'll come back. It's only there is only one lifeline in this opportunity. Let's see if others have it. Others want to say. So several of you have tried. Okay, so Krishna Chandra, you get a second chance because no one else is there to take it up.
The purpose of this chapter is to prove himself to be the Supreme Person of Godhead.
Yes, exactly how it is done is differently, but the point is, many people have doubts. Is Vishnu is the greatest? Many people think the Virat Roop is the greatest, and many people think maybe I am the God. Let's say, if you think you are the God, then manifest your Virat Roop. You can't, forget about it. Don't even think in the dreams. First thing. Now, those who say Vishnu is the source of all incarnations, well, Krishna manifested Vishnu. It should be other way around. All right. So this chapter, until the previous chapters, theoretically and philosophically, Krishna was established as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the 11th chapter, practically, realistically, visually, Krishna has been established as the source of all sources. That is the one message which we should get it up clear. And I had made a point to say that right in the beginning of the session yesterday and at the end also. So I guess whatever I'll discuss today, I'll ask you at the end of the session only. What did you learn? Maybe in a day's time, we kind of forget. So at least I know we have got the gist, or else I'll have to repeat it. Because if you forget this very important point, then, further study becomes difficult. All right, so let's go back without further ado. So only good point is the greatest advantage, or what should I say? This is about 11th chapter in brief. Okay, let's continue with the flow of 11th chapter. Then I'll say what I wanted to say about 12th chapter. So 11th chapter ends, and then Arjuna began to ponder. Personalist versus impersonalist. Now, what is personalist versus impersonalist? I'll just take a minute to help you understand that. There are two kinds of transcendentalist, spiritualist. One who believe Lord has a form, they're called as personalist. Other category, those who think Lord does not have a form, impersonalist. Most of the Abrahamic tradition, which includes Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they are under this umbrella of transcendentalists, those who think they do not have a form. So there are two transcendentalists like that. Of course, Abrahamic faith has further gradations, and they are not exactly like impersonal. They don't have that much depth of knowledge, but I'm just giving you high-level division. So these are two kinds of transcendentalists, and the debate has been there from the beginning of the time Lord has a form or is he a formless? Here in the 11th chapter, Lord Shri Krishna has already put it to hold. But Arjuna wanted to ask, because as you saw in the 11th chapter, you saw one more thing in the 11th chapter. Krishna showed the Virat Roop, but Arjuna was not attracted. Arjuna said and expressed, my dear Lord, I'm more attracted to your two-handed form. He was not even attracted to four-handed form. Krishna showed his Narayan form to Arjuna. He was not even attracted to four-handed form. He said, my dear Lord, two-handed form. If you imagine four-handed form was more attractive, Arjuna could have spoken something about that. Arjuna did not say anything. So he was most attracted to two-handed form. So Arjuna he has gone through an experience and he has realized Virat Roop is in one sense a formless, in one sense, because there is no beginning and end to the form in that way. Everything is all pervasive. That is called as formless in one way. So Arjuna have already gone through that experience. So he wants to put this debate to, to stop or to bring it to conclusion by asking this question to Krishna. My dear Lord, you tell me, according to you, who is the greatest, the personalist or the impersonalist? In other words, who gets the highest joy of their life in serving you, in worshipping you? Are the one who are personalists, who worship like I pray to you, or I connect to your two-handed form, or those who are more attracted to your Virat Roop or the formless form, or formless, not form, but to the formless feature of yours. So that's the background of this chapter. So let's come to the chapter. Oh, sorry, slides are not visible. Here it is. So chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita, I have titled Spiritual Qualities. I'll give you the reason why I titled the Spiritual Qualities. In general, this chapter is the shortest chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It only has 20 verses, and very beautiful chapter. I took some time in the beginning because I was inserting some verses in the presentation so we could recite together. So let's move forward with an acronym. This chapter has acronym as God, God. It has 3 sections. The first section, G for Godhead, will discuss about personalist versus impersonalist, and other 2 options I'll introduce when we are on it. So, we kind of save time. G for Godhead. God, the Sanskrit word, the equivalent word of the word God in Sanskrit is Ishvaraha. So Ishwar, the Sanskrit word Ishwar means controller, the supreme controller. So in general, people consider and people understand God means controller. But in this chapter, 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga, the devotional service, will begin to, acknowledge and also gain an insight into the most cherished aspect of God's personality. One thing, we'll learn about the most cherished aspect of the God's personality, which means the form of the Lord. And second, we'll also learn about the disposition of the Lord's devotee towards oneself, towards others, towards the situations, and the fourth and the last, towards the Lord himself. So it's a very, very exciting chapter. Without any further ado, let's begin with it. You might find some Hindi here and there because I just copied some slides from a Hindi session right before this session started, and there was some very interesting question answer where it really it became a 3-hour session rather than 1.5-hour session. So let's take a look at the very first verse of the 12th chapter. Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhakta Swam Parupasate Ye Chapi Aksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ki Yoga Vittamaha. Here Arjuna is inquiring, my dear Lord, which is considered to be the greatest or the highest? Those who engaged in your direct devotional service to you, or to those who engaged to the devotional service or to the service of the impersonal form? Very interesting, a point to be noted. You may feel like, what's the need for this question? But a point to be noted, and let me clarify that. There are many, many spiritual organizations, all the modern age YouTube gurus, if you see at large in the spiritual organizations have no meaning if there is no Bhagavad Gita. Everyone uses Bhagavad Gita by default. And you find all these modern age gurus or the YouTube sensations, most of them, for them, Bhagavad Gita, for most of them, Krishna is a non-existential feature. To give you an example, almost 4-5 decades before, Srila Prabhupada was invited for a Gita Sammelan. Gita Sammelan in English means, what do you say? Sammelan means association. Gita Sammelan was a forum where all the scholars of Gita, those who know Gita, were invited. Prabhupada was least interested, but the organizer really pushed Prabhupada, so Prabhupada agreed to it. Prabhupada comes to the program, is a huge stadium, is a huge pandal. Arrangement has been done. Prabhupada comes there, and Prabhupada is surprised to look at the stage. There is a big banner says Gita Sammelan. It does not even say Bhagavad Gita Sammelan. What is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Gita? Those who say Gita, they have negated the existence of Bhagavan. It is not Gita, it is Bhagavad Gita. Gita means Gana. Gita means Gana. So Gana means song. Bhagavad means the God. It is called as a song of God. But when you say Gita, it means it's only a song. So it was not Bhagavad Gita Sammelan, it was Gita Sammelan. Obviously, there was not even a single picture of Krishna and Arjuna. Prabhupada asked the organizer, what the heck is this? You call me for Bhagavad Gita Sammelan. At the end of the day, you have Gita Sammelan. Not even a single picture of the original speaker and the original student of Bhagavad Gita. And the organizer says, my dear sir, don't be disappointed. Look at the side of the stage and you'll see there is a lamp. And that lamp represents Brahman. Because you are Brahman, I am Brahman, Krishna is Brahman, everything is Brahman, we all are same. So Krishna and Arjuna is represented by this lamp. Prabhupada had enough of this. Prabhupada was so upset, Prabhupada decided to walk away from this forum. However, Prabhupada didn't go and attend any of the session. And then later on, Prabhupada's turn came to speak. Prabhupada didn't go. Prabhupada had asked his disciple, I'm skipping the name of the devotee. Anyways, it'll come back in a short while, the name. And that devotee went and spoke. He was an American devotee, got Brahmanand Prabhu, got connected with Prabhupada in the early days. And Brahmanand Prabhu went on the stage representing Srila Prabhupada, began to speak about Bhagavad Gita. And he said, all of you are such a great saints and all that. He glorified Mayavadis. Mayavadis means impersonalists who do not believe in the form of the Lord. According to them, this world is false. This is unreal. Only truth is Brahman, which means you are Brahman, I am Brahman. That is the truth. And they say, see everything equally. Fine. So after speaking for a while, Brahmanand Prabhu gave a very, very gross example, a shocking example. He said, Rasgulla, the Indian sweet, a famous sweet, when you look at it, the saliva gets created in your mouth. You'll want to eat it. So Brahman is consuming Brahman. And that Brahman Rasgulla, when it gets digested, it comes out next day in the morning out of your body as stool. So all of you say everything is Brahman. So there is no difference between Rasgulla and the stool. So you should eat stool also with the same relish as you eat Rasgulla. Hi. And all the yogis there began to make Allah Gulla. They all went to Prabhupada. How dare this disciple of yours compare and give such a pathetic analogy and say we should eat stool? And apparently looked like on that afternoon they all were given Rasgulla. They must have really devoured Rasgulla that day. So they all went and complained to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, oh, I'm so sorry, my Western disciple, he used really a very gross example. Please forgive him, he's learning. He'll be careful. So they all were pacified and they went away. And Brahmanand Prabhu thought, oh, Prabhupada would be angry from me. I'll be chastised. And then Prabhupada looked at him and said, Brahmanand Prabhu, what a beautiful example. Can I use your example in my classes? So anyways, so it's just a case of a word jugglery where this whole Mayavadi or impersonalist, they kind of deceive or cheat people by saying you are God and I am God. Please try to understand, if I am God, then why am I growing old? If I am God, then why do I need help of others? Let me give an example. There was one person who was actually a Mayavadi, impersonalist before. And later on, then after some time, he became a Krishna devotee, a personalist. So one devotee happened to ask him, hey, you were a Mayavadi before? You were impersonalist? How did you become a personalist? How did you become a devotee of Krishna? Bhakti yogi. So this man said, by my previous teacher, I was told all through my life, I am God, I am God, I am God. But one day a situation came into my life that I was so hopeless. I felt so frustrated in my life. I wanted to take help of somebody. But how can God take help of somebody? So I was living with this lie for so long that I am God and I could not take help of anyone. Then I finally realized, what is the use of my living, because my problems are not ending. I should go and seek help of somebody. And then it dawned to me that if I was God, why would I be in a constant problem, and why would not have a solution for my own problems? And then I understood I am not a God. I am a part and parcel of God. So that's the point here. So let's go back to the presentation. I just gave you a brief on this subject matter. Let's take a look how Krishna would respond to this question. So that's a brief summary here. 2 classes of transcendentalists, and every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as you can see here, every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, 6, 7, 8, everyone actually establishes, Krishna through the pages of Bhagavad Gita establishes Bhakti Yogi or Bhakti Yoga to be the greatest. So before we get into Krishna's response to Arjuna's question, the first question is, what is the intention of Arjuna behind asking this question? I already made this point. He's attracted to Krishna's personal form. Therefore, he's curious why anyone would be actually attracted or willing to meditate on the impersonal form. So out of curiosity and also to clear this doubt for all the time to come, Arjuna inquired this question. And Srila Prabhupada writes a very beautiful purport, purport to the very first verse, wherein he gives a conclusion right in the very first purport. Let's read out Prabhupada's purport. Anyone would like to read? Please go ahead. It'll be nice, all of you, those of you who are generally a silent observer, if anyone of you generally don't speak, if they speak, so we have more participation. I do have Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Madan Sundar active members. Others can.
In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord explained that a living entity is not the material body. He is a spiritual spark, and the absolute truth is the spiritual whole. In the 7th chapter, he spoke of the living entity as being part and parcel of the supreme whole and recommended that he transfer his attention fully to the whole. Then again in the 8th chapter, it was said that anyone who thinks of Krishna at the time of quitting his body is at once transferred to the spiritual sky, to the abode of Krishna.
Okay. Prabhupada says further, and I'll just change the slide. Yes, go ahead, Mother.
And at the end of the 6th chapter, the Lord clearly said that of all yogis, one who always thinks of Krishna, there is nothing beyond it.
It's coming now?
One who always thinks of Krishna within himself is considered the most perfect. So in practically every chapter, the conclusion has been that one should be attached to the personal form of Krishna, for that is the highest spiritual realization.
So, Prabhupada makes this purport, and right in the beginning, even before Krishna would give the answer, Prabhupada gives the answer that bhakti is the best and is the highest. So therefore it is said, evam parampara praptam, to hear from the bona fide sources. But nonetheless, let's hear what Krishna have to say. So Krishna declares in the 2nd verse, bhakti is best. Now, why bhakti is best? We have discussed this previously also. Bhakti, the path of Bhakti Yoga is very simple. It's sweet. Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter verse number 2, Krishna says, Susukham kartam abhyam. It's all blissful. And along with that, it's simple. Let me give you an example. There was a man, this is a story from Europe. He was on a cruise ship. And the room that he checked in the cruise ship, the previous traveler had left a pot, a flower pot, you can say. And apparently this man had a lot of liking for flowers, plants and trees. It was not a flower pot, it was a plant pot. There was some plant. So he stayed during his cruise ship, he took care of the plant, and because the owner was not there, he brought that plant along with him to his London apartment. and he started watering the plant and everything. So this man was a regular man who will drink, eat meat, and all those things, which is a regular life these days. And he continued taking care of the plant for 3 months. After 3 months on the street, the London street, he found Hare Krishna devotees, ISKCON devotees doing chanting. And although he had seen them many times before, but he never paid attention to them. And one of the person, the Hare Krishna party member, came to him, approached him, and he said, we got a copy of Bhagavad Gita, why don't you read and all that? Somehow he felt, okay, well, let's see what these people have to think about life. Let's read about it. He brought the copy of Bhagavad Gita, yet he didn't read it. Another 1 or 2 months went. And simultaneously, all this while, he was watering that plant and taking care of the plant. Finally, one day he was a little distressed and disturbed. He was looking for some solution. Something happened that he thought, why don't I open this book? Or let's say, accidentally came across that book in his library, opened and started reading. He liked it. He thought, okay, let me go and meet these people. He started visiting temple, and slowly and gradually he left all his bad habits. And he started chanting the holy names of the Lord. He started meditation, gave up the bad habits. One day, this is down this is somewhere around 7-8 months down the line, and not anyone has guided him much. Just by coming around the association devotees, he just naturally picked up everything and gave up all the bad habits. After a few months down the line, he invited some devotees, and the devotees came to their house. They were shocked. Rather, they were surprised to see what they saw. They saw in his house, there was a plant of Tulsi Devi. So the plant that he had got in his cruise liner, the travel, was none other than Tulsi Maharani. And he had been watering Tulsi Maharani for the last several months. And by this simple service to Tulsi Maharani, he underwent so many changes. Now, can anything be more simple? Just by watering Tulsi Maharani and taking care of Tulsi Maharani. That's the reason Krishna says it is so simple and it is so blissful. He didn't have to give up anything. He didn't have to memorize all the scriptures. Nothing. That's why it is simple and it is best. So let's see what Krishna says. Krishna says, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Mai Avish Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Te Me Yukta Tamaha Mataha. Lord Shri Krishna says, or what is his opinion? Krishna says, those engaged in devotional service are most perfect. Now, what are the actions in Krishna consciousness? Krishna conscious activities are not material because everything is done for Krishna. Therefore, we do not get any karma. There is no concept of karma or vikarma here. Like that. That's the first thing. Second thing, a devotee is in full consciousness and in constant engagement of serving Krishna, which means it's very easy to engage our mind and senses. I'll speak about this point in a short while. And the other point is why it's most perfect? Because it is easy to fix one's mind on Krishna. It is easy to engage one's senses in the service of Krishna rather than detaching our senses from the sense object. We are taught in Krishna consciousness or in the path of Bhakti Yoga how to use everything in Krishna's service. Whereas in the path of Mayavadis, impersonalists or Jnanis, you are asked to give up everything. But no, in the path of Bhakti Yoga, we are taught how to use everything properly. So Arjuna began to ponder and he thought, why, my dear Lord, why these impersonals are considered inferior if they at the end of the day also achieve you? And that's the key point. Krishna says, Arjuna, impersonalism is painful. And this picture puts in itself. I don't have a time. We don't have enough time. Otherwise, I would have asked each one of you to give you a reflection from this picture that you see on the screen right now. So I'll give you a reflection quickly because of lack of time for us to interact much. You see a man literally craving for water. That's what he's extending his hand out. Now, impersonalism is painful. Why painful? Because in impersonalism or in Jnana Marg or Mayavad Marg, you're told to renounce everything, give up all your desires. So externally, person may have taken a dress of a sannyasi, but if he's not yet up to that level of renunciation, the mind would be craving, like this man craving for water. And imagine if your mind is so dissatisfied, so much hankering for sense objects or sense pleasure, how can you be happy? So this path of yoga is not sukham, susukham. It is su-dukham or du-dukham, ati-dukha. There's only pain and pain and pain. Second thing, it's a path of renunciation. Second thing, the result does not come very easily. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadate vasudevam sarvamiti samahatma sudurlava. After many, many births. We have examples in the history where people perform this path for thousands of years. We don't even live for 100 years. Thanks to COVID, we don't even live for 50 years. And thanks to COVID vaccine, God knows how long. We don't know what's going to be, but I'm just saying on the point of it. So, why bhakti is better? Prabhupada makes a point in the purport to this. 4 points, and I'll give you comparative analysis of it. First, in bhakti, it is easy to fix the mind. Now, because the path of bhakti, we have a form of the Lord. I want to love him, I at least need to have an understanding of how this person looks, who I want to love. Can anyone fall in love with the sky? I love the sky, the blue sky, the green sky, the dark sky. What is the meaning of a love? Therefore, people these days say love is in the air. They cannot come to the exact definition of the love. Now, Bhakti Vinod Thakur talks about it in detail in Jayavadharma. I will not go to that nuances and details here in this forum. But he says it is so important to do deity worship. Why? Because now we have the form of the Lord. Now we can see the beautiful form of the Lord Jagannath, Shri Baldev Subhadra, Shri Gaur Krishna Balram. You would naturally become attractive. You would like to serve the Lord. And when you don't have the form of the Lord, whom do you serve? And there is no meaning to love if there is no desire to serve. That's the point. So easy to fix the mind because we have the object of our love. We can serve him. We can meditate on him. And the impersonalism, where do you meditate? That itself is a big question mark. I don't know how many of you have been. Any one of you have been to Pondicherry here? Or how many of you know about Auroville? Auroville? Okay. Looks like Mother Subhash, she's from South India probably. So Auroville, they had 15 years ago, they had built this whole golden globe. It's a meditation center. So it's a time when I was exploring my life. So I had gone to Auroville to learn about yoga and explore some things about what they practice. So I was there with them for 4-5 days. So one evening, most of the audience, most of the people are French, and there are more than 60 nationalities of people staying there in Auroville. So one day, there was a lady who was guiding me, who was the administrator, and she took me for a meditation hall in that Golden Globe. Very beautiful place. It was completely, very dark, very mildly lighted up. And we had to go sit in lotus posture, close our eyes and do meditation. And we're not supposed to make even an inch of a sound. It was pin drop silence. After a while, I realized why it was pin drop silence. Because everyone was in a perfect sound sleep. Because I also fell into a sound sleep after a while. So there is no meaning of a meditation. How can you meditate like that? Therefore, it becomes very, very difficult. I myself have a personal experience of it, how difficult it is. Then engaging the senses in Krishna consciousness, you eat delicious Krishna prasadam, you hear melodious kirtans, you dance and everything. But in Jnana Marg impersonal, there is nothing. You don't read any qualification to be able to follow the path of impersonalism. You need to be very well qualified in scripture studies. On top of it, Krishna protects. Krishna says to Arjuna, 9th chapter, Name Bhaktya Pranashiti. But in case of impersonalists, they depend on their own endeavor. So they don't ask for help. Why would they ask for help? They are God. They are God, so they don't ask for help. And they have to survive on their own endeavor. That is the reason Bhakti Yoga is best. Srila Prabhupada makes this very simple 4 points and, makes it clear how Bhakti Yoga is the best. So, a question. Despite all of this knowledge, why would one still take to the path of impersonalism? I have a 4 क्या कहते हैं options for you. You have to select one of the options. Despite all of this knowledge, why would one still take to the path of impersonalism? First option, humility. Number 2, pride. Number 3, envy. Number 4, lust. Because of which one is impelled to take the path of impersonalism? Is it because of humility? Second, pride? Is it because of envy? Or is it because of lust? What do you think? I've given you 4 options. What is the right answer according to you? Out of the 4, you can write out any of the number if you wish to say. And till the time all of you are thinking.
Is it pride, Prabhuji? Is it pride?
Fine, noted. And the correct answer is envy.
Prabhuji, is it envy?
It's envy. Correct. Is envy towards the Lord. We want to take the position of the Lord. Therefore, I want to become God. Is because of this envy, people want to become God and compete with God. That's the point. All right. Let's go ahead. So, path of impersonalism is troublesome, very difficult. I've already described it. Let's move forward. Next, Krishna now glorifies bhakti again. And Krishna says, Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyaneva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate teshamaham samuddarta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavamina chirat partha mai aveshita chetasam. Somebody please read out the translation.
Becoming reliant upon Krishna, devotee develops his love for Krishna and his greed for serving Krishna, and he leaves the responsibility of freeing oneself from Maya on Krishna.
So, any example that comes to your mind where a devotee was entirely dependent on Krishna?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj, thank you, Krishna Chandraprabhu, correct. What else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Gajendra.
Gajendra, wonderful. What else?
Draupadi later on.
Draupadi, correct. What else?
Bhakti
Ambarish Maharaj, King Ambarish.
King Ambrish, a perfect example. There could not be any better example than King Ambrish. I was particularly looking for that one. Correct. Not Dhruva. No, not Dhruva.
Bhakti Ramdas, Prabhuji.
All right. So you understood the point here, right? There's a point here. Those who are fully dependent. Huh? Prabhupada and every pure devotee. Correct. Prabhupada's fantastic example. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, Ya Vaisadhana Sampatti Purusartha Chatustahi Taya Vina Tad Apnoti Naro Narayana Ashraya. Please read out. Oh, sorry, you can't see it only. I forgot. Please read out.
The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different processes of fruitive activity or cultivate knowledge by the mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from other yogic processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifices, charities, etc. That is the specific benediction of
Devotional service. Continue reading. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna.
the holy name Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. A devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily, but this destination cannot be approached by any other process of religion.
And that is what Srila Prabhupada writes about this particular point. How, bhakti is, once again, we are discussing how bhakti is simple and sublime. Then Arjuna pondered, my dear Lord, how to perform bhakti? And now this brings us to the second section of the smallest chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the 12th chapter, where O stands for options. Here Lord Shri Krishna will demonstrate his magnanimity and understanding. Lord Shri Krishna understands and recognizes that not everyone can wholeheartedly surrender unto him. People with different aspirations will approach him, with different desires will approach him. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna here offers options. Choose whatever you're capable of. Just like train travel in India. If your pocket size allows you to afford first class, go for that. If not, second, third AC, sleeper. If not, you don't have anything, climb into the general class like that. So, that is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga in that sense. One can begin their journey according to what is feasible and realistic, which Krishna will give here as an option. Wherever, whichever situation you're able to do it or able to render or take a step forward, do that. And that's how a person can be progressive. Now, for an instance, let me ask this way. How many of you think it would have been wise for Lord just to give one process, just to incarnate in one form, just to give one scripture, just to create one holy dham? Why do so many multiple things just to create one kind of yoga? There are 4 to 5 kinds of yoga discussed in Bhagavad Gita itself. There are so many scriptures on which their conflict goes on. There are so many forms of the Lord. How many of you think it would have been wise just to have one, not multiple? One scripture, one religion, one God, one yoga. Why Krishna has to talk about karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga karke khatam karo na? After all, after talking all of that, anyways, bhakti yoga is established to be the highest. Yes or no? So what do you think about it? Are you saying if Krishna have done it, there has to be some reason? He has to be wise if he is the Supreme Lord. So how can we say he is not wise? What would you prefer? Let me put it this way. What do you prefer? Do you prefer one process? Or it is good to have multiple process, varieties?
Prabhuji,
It'll be nice if you all type in, because there will be a lot of people to speak in and we may not have the time to take. You can just write yes, no, something. That will be quick. So you can be good on your keyboard and you can type in that way. Till the time you're thinking on it, please think about out loud. Why Lord appears in different incarnations? Think out loud. Why Lord describes different yoga systems? Isn't it? And the answer is simple. Why? And the answer is people are inspired differently. Different people are, based on their guna and karma, they get inclined or attracted to different forms of the Lord, different processes of yoga. For an example, it's a story from Europe where I believe on the, at the coastal area of France, if I'm correct, one devotee wanted to go to one of the islands which were belonging to the natives, and nobody used to generally go to that place. And he thought, why should I not, let's plan to go there and let me go and give them Bhagavad Gita and talk to them about Krishna. So you can go onto that island with the help of the natives of that island. So they'll come and pick you up. And some of the people knew the English language or the French language, whatever was the language there. So these 2 devotees got onto the boat with the Adivasi, the native. And when the boat took them from the coast of the side of the France to that island, during the journey, which was 1 hour long journey on the boat, our devotees saw the boatmen were having a kantimala. And now the devotees were shocked. Arey, Adivasi ko kantimala kaun pehna gaya? Who put the kantimala to this native? And they asked him, hey, what it says? What are these neck beads? And he said, I am a devotee of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. So we wear this. So the devotee asked, how did you become a devotee of Krishna? What do you know about Krishna? I'll not go into what they know about Krishna, but how did you become a devotee? He said, 3 years ago, just like all of you have come, another man had come on my boat. And he gave me a copy of Bhagavad Gita. And we are natives, we are Adivasis. We all are fishermen tribe. Our sustenance lies on collecting fishes. So fishes is like our deity in one sense, because that nurtures us. So this man told me that this is a book called as Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Matsya Avatar. Matsya Avatar is a fish incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So he told me that this wisdom is spoken by Matsya Avatar. Who is Matsya Avatar? He's a fish incarnation. He's a fish god. So he told me that Lord comes in the form of a fish. Because he told me Lord comes in the form of fish, I became very intrigued and attracted to read what this Lord who comes in the form of a fish has to speak. And I read Bhagavad Gita, I gave a copy of Bhagavad Gita and taught to some of our people in this tribe. And that's how we became a devotee. Matsya Avatar ki jai. Because Lord took a form of Matsya Avatar, some people got attracted to it. Imagine if you would have told him about Krishna, he would not have got attracted. I'm just giving you one example like this. Like this, there are many, many examples can be given. That's the reason why Krishna gives different options. Similarly, in the path of bhakti, not everyone can take to the highest path. So the highest path is your mind is entirely fixed on Krishna. If not, second path level, lesser than that is perform sadhana bhakti, which means under the guidance of Guru, rules and regulation. You cannot follow the rules and regulation of bhakti, work for Krishna. Krishna says, if you cannot work for Krishna, at least use the result of your work in the service of Krishna. You cannot do nishkama karma yoga. You cannot give any result of your work in the service of Krishna. At least cultivate knowledge. At least do some charity. Because by doing some charity for any humanitarian cause, you'll develop some detachment. Cultivate knowledge. Develop some renunciation. That's how Krishna says, do something. Start from this, at least this minimum platform. And all of you at the end of this discussion, when we talk about these 4-5 stages, you can think about it. Where do you lie on this ladder? And if you wish, you can message me on the Zoom chat, even in case. So what does Krishna says? Mayi eva mana adasva mayi buddhim niveshya niveshyasasi mayi eva ata urdhvam na samshaya. Translation, please.
Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt.
Which means full absorption. One example, as I said, this is a small chapter, but it can become the longest chapter because it's so practical. For everything, you can just keep on quoting stories. I'll give you one story of absorption. What you see in a very beautiful picture right in front of you on the screen is a man by the name of Raghunath Das Goswami. You can see how absorbed he is in chanting the holy names of the Lord. The tears are flowing from his eyes. And it is right now a peak summer season of Vrindavan, around mid-noon. The sun is right above the head. And Raghunath Das Goswami is sweating profusely. He is not perturbed by the heat and is continuing to chant. Here, Sanatan Goswami, one of his companions, he is walking by this area where Raghunath Das Goswami is sitting and chanting, and he sees Raghunath Das Goswami is profusely sweating. It's a very terrible situation to sit out in the sunlight like that. But more amazing and more surprising was that Raghunath Das Goswami's head was covered by the scarf or by the upper cloth of one very, very beautiful young girl. By all means, she looked like a divine personality who Sanatan Goswami could very easily recognize, none other than Srimati Radharani. Sanatan Goswami was shocked that Raghunath Das Goswami is chanting the names of the Lord to serve the Lord. Here, the Lord himself is coming and rendering service to Raghunath Das Goswami. So, point is, Raghunath Das Goswami was so absorbed that Srimati Radharani personally came to protect him from the sunlight, and he was not even aware of it. So, that's the one level where we are totally absorbed in Krishna. Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, it's very difficult for many of us to fix our mind and intelligence on Krishna like this. So Krishna said, no problem. Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi maisthiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichhaptam dhananjaya. Please read translation.
O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Which means if you cannot really, you don't have that purity of mind and attraction right now, then follow rules and regulations under a guru. What are the rules and regulations? Let's take a look at it. We'll read out a purport where the rules and regulations are given. So if in case there's somebody who would like to read and have not read, they can read it, or else any one of you can continue reading. Anyways, we have less time. We have a lot to cover. Please go ahead, Mother or Prabhu, whoever wants to read.
Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses At the present moment, in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified, and in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money, and the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses.
Another devotee can read out.
This love of God
Is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart, and it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process. To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles A, B, C, D. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of love of God, and then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God.
So here comes the question. What is this ABCD? We have discussed it before. The rules and regulations, right?
Association, books, chanting, and
That.
Prasad. Krishna Prasad.
Yeah,
diet.
Krishna Prasad. All right. Thank you. That's the point. And it all begins with chanting the holy names of the Lord. So that's a process we need to follow. And to the degree we follow, to that degree, we progress in the Bhakti Yoga path like that. So that's what is being described here. If one cannot perform devotion service, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti. Fine, let's go ahead. Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, but I don't have time and interest in devotional practice. Then what? If somebody says like this, I don't have time. Neither I have interest to do any of this devotional service or activities, not service practice. What do I do then? Then Krishna said, fine. I know you're a useless case, but fine. Abhyasyapi yasmarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madartam vikarmani kurvan siddhim avapshasi. So Lord Shri Krishna says, all right, Arjuna, no worries. Everyone has to start from somewhere. Don't be discouraged or disappointed. Don't think I'm going to chastise you because you cannot take to devotion practice. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage, which means you can help spreading the mission of Krishna consciousness. You can directly get involved. If you have a technical skill, let's say, for example, you have a web development skill, build a website for some devotees or for the temple project or whatnot. If you know about construction, help in construction. Krishna says, do that. But Arjuna thinks, my dear Lord, what if I can't do that much also? So here in the purport, I'll skip this part. So work for Krishna. So if you cannot, at least work for Krishna has been made a point here. However, what if I'm not able to work for Krishna also? Then Krishna says, Athai tadapi asakto si kartum madyogamashrita sarva karma phalam tyagam tatakuru yatatmavan. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all the results of your work and try to be self-situated. Which means you cannot work for me, for my cause, like Arjuna, and the battlefield is going to work for Krishna. Krishna says, do it, he's going to do it. If you cannot do that, you are attached to your work, then at least give the result of your work. But somebody may say, no, I cannot give the result of my work. Why? Because my family members are entirely against Krishna consciousness. There's a lot of social pressure. I cannot even contribute 5%, 10% of my wealth in the service of the Lord. Krishna says, all right, acknowledged. If you cannot give any charity, if you cannot do any service for me, if you cannot use any of your result in my service, no problem. But for your own growth of consciousness, at least do charity to other humanitarian work. Offer it, because by doing charity, you'll become detached. Simultaneously, cultivate knowledge. Be part of forums like this or any other forum in your local center, wherever you're connected. Be part of this educational approach, educational programs, so you get to learn. In other words, always keep in association devotees and keep moving forward as much as it allows you. And like that, you can become progressive. You can do bhakti and you can become progressive. So these are the progressive stages of devotion, this is the highest. If you can't do this, Krishna says, follow the rules and regulations. You can't do that, work for Krishna. You can't do that, then give your results to Krishna. Can't do that, give charity. Can't do that, at least cultivate knowledge. That will be better. So when you're going above, which means all these stages are inherently part of it, like that. Finally, Arjuna thought, this is the last section, and I'll conclude in 5 minutes. I know I'm a little over time now. I'll take 5 more minutes. What are the qualities of those engaged in bhakti? And that brings us to the last discussion of this chapter, where D stands for devotee's disposition. How many times, at least I've been asked this question many times. Let me ask this question to all of you. How many times have you wondered, or you have been asked that, or you have pondered that I see this person who claims to be a religious minded person, does a lot of worship and whatnot, but there seems to be no transformation in this person. He or she is still the same. There's no change. How many of you have come across such situation or have thought like that? Yes or no? So here Arjuna is asking a very important question about the devotee's disposition, and Krishna is going to speak on that. The point is, as one embarks on the spiritual journey, if you're taking a spiritual journey, not religious journey will take you nowhere. If you're embarking on a spiritual journey, then we would, and all of us would definitely develop divine saintly qualities. Therefore, Krishna concludes this chapter by highlighting the disposition of a perfected devotees. Such perfected devotees exhibit qualities such as tolerance, determination, satisfaction, equanimity of mind. Devotees endowed with such character indeed attract the heart of Krishna, who become bound by their spotless devotion. And such are the dealings within the transcendental realm, where even the unconquerable supreme controller becomes the captive of love of his devotees. So what are these qualities? Let's take a look. We're going to divide this section into 4 parts. So first is attitude towards oneself. So how does the devotees carry attitude towards oneself? Can anyone help me out? I'll read the headings and give you the summary, and somebody can help me read out the subheadings. Freedom from. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
False ego. Neither oneself thinks he is the doer or enjoyer. Attachment to fruitive results. Sense of proprietorship.
Freedom from sense of proprietorship. Freedom from attachment to
freedom from sense of proprietorship. Equipoised in honor and dishonor, fame and infamy.
Oh, okay. There were 2 points only. So let me give you a brief understanding of it. What means he does not get disturbed when somebody says bad things to him. He does not become super excited when somebody glorifies him. He is equipoised. Similarly, he is not attached to something for his own sense gratification. Neither he has a consciousness of I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. So that is his attitude towards his own self, towards his own life. Fine. How does he deal with others? The perfected devotee we're talking about. How does he deal with others? Please read.
Non-envious, friend to all. Puts nobody into any difficulty, anxiety, fearlessness, fearfulness, or dissatisfaction. Never disturbed by anyone. Equal to both friends and enemies. Free from contaminating association. Silent. Only speaks about Krishna.
So when it comes to dealing with others, he does not envy them. He is friend to all. Friend to all means he does not put anyone into difficulty through his mind, words, or speech. Does not have, he keeps the distance from bad association. These are actually described and discussed more in the Srimad Bhagavatam. These are all the qualities of a Madhyama Adhikari at least, and above Uttara, definitely the advanced devotee. Madhyama Adhikari qualities. He does not keep association with bad association. And silent means he speaks. When he speaks, he elevates the consciousness of people. He does not speak anything which degrades the consciousness or makes them more attracted to material life. How does he react to the events happening around in the world? Please read.
Self-control. Neither rejoices nor grieves, neither laments nor desires. Satisfied with whatever comes by Krishna's mercy. Doesn't care for any material facility, example, residence.
So much crisis are going on in the world. We recently had COVID crisis, a lot of upheavals, no doubt about it. We had a life loss also, all respect to those and all of us sincere prayer to those who had a life loss and their relatives. But he is not perturbed about the changing situations of this world. Why? Why is not perturbed? His goal is very clear. His mind is focused on Vaikuntha. He is going back to Vaikuntha. And unless he goes out of this material world, the situations in this world are always going to be difficult and in fact going to become more complicated. Therefore, he does not get perturbed because he does not pay any much attention to it. He knows if Krishna wants to protect, who can kill him, and Krishna wants to kill, who can protect him. With his full surrender and faith on Krishna and the goal set at the lotus feet of Lord, he is not much disturbed on the situations. Neither is interested in talking about much what's happening in the world around because it is always constantly changing. That's in essence. And oh yes, there are more to it. I forgot. Let's go ahead. What reactions he gives to the events of the world? Please go ahead.
Equipoised and tolerant in difficulty. Expert, knows how to use everything for service. Pure, internally and externally. Sees all events, good and bad, as the mercy of the Lord.
I've already explained this. And finally, how does he deal with the Lord? Dealing with oneself, dealing with others, reactions towards the events, and dealing with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How does he deal?
Engaged in bhakti with faith and determination.
Srila Prabhupada was never discouraged regardless of extreme challenges that he faced. We cannot even imagine what he all went through. I mean, when we hear, we just get a glimpse of it. But imagine putting yourself in a situation, traveling on a cargo ship at the age of 70, precisely 69, traveling on a, that old on the cargo ship and getting 2 heart attacks. I mean, how is it possible? Next.
Mind and intelligence are fixed on Krishna.
So does not get distracted, deviated from the lotus feet of Krishna. And finally, Krishna says, who is the dearest of all to me? Ye tu dharmamritam idam yatoktam paripasati shraddhadhana mat parama bhaktaste ativa me priya. Last sloka of the 12th chapter. Please read.
Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage in themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me.
And with this, we come to the conclusion. We'll read out the conclusion as Srila Prabhupada gives. Before that, to give you a little summary, the key points are Bhakti Marg is the simplest, and Krishna says is the best path as compared to Jnana Marg, Ashtanga Marg, or any Marg. Second thing, Krishna is so kind that he gives us the privilege to start bhakti according to our level. If you cannot do direct service, no problem. Use the result of your work in the service of the Lord. If you cannot even use the results because of family pressure, social pressure, whatnot, do some charity and at least remember me by cultivating knowledge. And that's how you can start your bhakti yoga. So I don't think so any one of us here would not fit into any of the options. I'm pretty sure all of you would find yourself in one of the options fitting in, and and of course under the guidance of a guru or guidance of teachers, you can definitely move forward from there. So that was the gist of it. And the end, what are the qualities of the devotees who have perfected their life was discussed. And that's the point. Whoever takes on to spiritual life, undoubtedly they have to exhibit transformation of their character. To conclude with, let's read out what Srila Prabhupada have to say in conclusion of this chapter. And with that, we end. Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to speak who has not spoken?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, those who are maintaining silence, they can break the vow of silence and can speak now. Go ahead.
Conclusion. The question of who is better, one who is engaged in the path of impersonal Brahman or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjuna. And the Lord replied to him so explicitly that there is no doubt that devotional service to the Personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Continue.
In other words, in this chapter, it is decided that through good association, one develops attachment for pure devotional service and thereby accepts upon one spiritual master and from him begins to hear and chant and observe the regulative principles of devotional service with faith, attachment, and devotion, and thus becomes engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 12.20.
Thank you. In essence, Bhakti Yoga begins with right association. And right association, we get inspired, take to Bhakti, we find shelter of Guru, and then there's no turning back. And Bhakti Yoga once again is established in Bhagavad Gita to be the highest yoga practice, most sublime and more blissful. We'll meet tomorrow. Don't look at the wrong date here, it's the old posture. We'll meet tomorrow to discuss from the 13th episode, 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. With that, we come to the conclusion of today's discussion. Thank you all for your patient hearing and kind attention and joining us so far continuously.